realized we need a name.
Uh, I was thinking, I don't know, goddamn, like if we wanted to do super generic, we can go along the lines of like anime, oil and water or something. Because
Oil and
boy,
water,
we do
what
not
if
get
we don't
along.
mix?
We do not have the same
I'm
taste.
glad you said it first because I was definitely like thinking like, oh, we can be the Bash Bros because we bash each other so much.
Yeah, no, that makes for great TV, I'm sure. Like I was also like, because obviously I'm friends with a bunch of anime podcasters, so I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want to rip off them, but I'm also like, okay, so what words have they not used? And I'm like, otaku. Nobody uses otaku, and it'd
no
be
one
like
wants
otaku
otaku.
exchange.
Otaku got like real gross after a while.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it was always gross. Goddamn Miyazaki interviewer, like that one that he's always misquoted. He's like, anime was
Honestly,
a mistake.
before Miyazaki, it was kind of like it was a
No, yeah,
little
but
iffy. But
I
you
just
know,
wanted to
you
bring.
were calling yourself that to like embrace the meme, right? Like, yeah, I'm fucked up. What are you gonna do about it,
No,
right?
so like yeah, that's just I just really like Miyazaki's quote where he talks about how he's misquoted as anime was a mistake, and what he really said was anime has become by otaku for otaku and it alienates other people, and I'm like yeah,
Mm.
that's really accurate. It's disgustingly fetishized and
Well, if we skip
unrelatable.
over the name real quick, I think these two shows are pretty open to public. I don't think there's anything especially
Oh
otaku
yeah, no, no. Say,
about this.
if we're getting into like the meat of the episode, so do you want to mention what we're gonna cover?
Okay, so we got two shows very similar in theme. We got the full title is Isekai Izakaya Koto Aitheria no Izakaya Nobu, which we're just going to call Izakaya Nobu. In English, it's Japanese food from another world. And then the other show we're going to talk about is Isekai Shokudo, which is Restaurant to Another World. Which one you want to start off with?
Uh, well, so the one I prefer is ended up
Actually, you
being
know, before we get too deep into that
the
stuff,
weeds.
I think since this is episode one, we should lay ourselves a little bit on the table, give an introduction. I'm Nujum.
Hi, I'm Sa.
So, how long have you been watching anime?
Gosh, I started pretty late. I think I was like just before high school when I started to actually like, okay, I've watched smatterings of these things on TV. Let's sit down and actually get through it. And I think I watched
Do
through
you
a lot of
remember which
Naruto.
Naruto? Yeah,
Yeah, I
that was
watched through
a
a lot of
big one.
Naruto. Tried to get through One Piece, and boy, that's a monster even back then. And ever
For
since
sure,
then,
for sure.
I've
We were.
accumulated.
Did you use the Toonami website? Was that it, or were we just pirating shit?
No, okay. I think one of the things that motivated me to get into like streaming stuff was yeah, what the Toonami had Mega Man Star, no, what was it?
Star Force.
I think it was
Star
something
Force
kind of.
is the one where like his hand turns into
Yes.
the gun.
So Toonami had that, and at some point I think they just cut off, and that really bugged
Mm.
me. So I think that was one of the things that motivated me to get into it, like properly looking for like translated media and finding.
Was there a situation where like season two was not translated to English or something like
Oh,
that?
more than season two. I think it was like they cut. I think in like episode like 23, and then there's just a whole additional season after that because and there's more media from there. So it's a fun show.
And you've not like ever stopped really. You've just like
Oh
kept
no,
going since then.
um I think I started watching like literally every show that aired every year, every season. I've been doing that since like 2017. I've watched a lot of anime.
Do you involve yourself in a lot of like anime communities and things?
Oh hell no, the anime community is the worst.
Oh no. So I'll give my version of this. Like you, I think we started around the same time in middle school, and I suspect we started because of the same library. In high school, there was a lot of like manga that you could just like borrow. Uh, I mean, even before high school, obviously, like there was like the Saturday morning cartoons by 4 Kids and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I
We watched a lot
definitely
of Yu-Gi-Oh,
I
a lot
remember
of
getting to arguments in high school about like Vampire Knight and a bunch of like anime, so that was definitely a time.
When you said Vampire Knight, my high school memory of vampires is just Twilight. I'll be real with you. We got vampire
I mean,
anime? What is
I was
this?
president of the anime club, and I don't think you ever came.
I
So
never came.
yeah.
I'll be real with you. Back then, I was like not like this might be like a little too deep for like an episode one, but like back then, I was kind of like grossed out by anime in like a lot of ways. So
Oh, I wonder.
it was like an enjoy it in secret kind of thing. Like I remember you were talking about Sword Art Online, right?
Oh no! Oh
And
god!
that
Oh my!
show has a terrible reputation.
And
And
it deserves it. Yes.
to the point where like even today I've never like attempted to watch the show, not like an
I will
episode one
say,
or anything.
have you heard of XL World?
I'll be real with you, I'm not interested in anything remotely similar.
No, see, because it's by the same guy, but and it has a couple of the worst tropes. But I think if any of his works could be possibly redeemed, XL World is the least bad, and it does something with its sci-fi instead of just being SAO edgy, whatever. So
Okay. Well, there's
XL
a
World,
an
because
initial recommendation, which is gonna be fun. So yeah,
I would not actively recommend it, but I definitely liked it more than
hmm.
the rest of his garbage.
So to get back to like my little thing. So in high school I watched like quite a bit of anime. Got to college and I sort of moved away from that to get more into like the engineering, like game design type stuff, like video gamey type stuff. And you'll be surprised how easy it is to like be into video games and be nowhere near like the anime community. So did that for a while and then I sort of came back to anime. I want to say 2 years ago because of Dragon Ball Super. And since then, I've been like super like back in it for sure. So that's where I'm at experience wise. I've not like watched a ton of anime. I've not read a ton of manga. It's like very intermittent for me, this stuff. But I enjoy
Yeah.
it for sure. And I enjoy the community as much like as bad as it can be. And I understand that like especially on like Twitter and stuff, it can be really really toxic. The discords that I've been on have all been very like friendly and willing to, dig deep on some of these topics that I like in these shows that I like. So I've been really enjoying the community for sure.
Uh-huh. I had a phase when I tried to enjoy the community, but eventually I realized I just couldn't. It's just too much.
I think for sure you got to be willing to, if you own the community, ban people, and if you don't own the community,
Oh yeah,
just fucking leave.
you need an amount of
Because
curation, definitely. And then, but besides that, I think for some reason anime I think it tends to attract like a sort of people because if you go on YouTube and you look for any other sort of genre, like people
Mhm,
who are discussing it are usually like there's a skill to it. Like people will usually like there are better people at analyzing it and worse. And you can just go for reviews, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But then usually I can only like stand like people who are actually doing like in-depth analysis. And for movies and stuff, you can there's especially like some really good like movie reviewers out there and some less good. And I'm not like trying to judge you or anything, but like for anime, it's almost all super shallow and superficial.
mhm.
Like I can barely stand any anime content because it feels like it's just so basic. Like nobody actually digs into it to an extent that
When
I
we get
enjoy.
into movies, I think that'll be a fun episode to do some other time
Oh
because
yeah, sure.
I
It's
I
just
got
like
lots of opinions on. I think we both know what my opinions are on most of the anime movies.
I'm just saying like movie YouTubers will go over like cinematography and thematic stuff, and then anime YouTubers will be like, I really liked when Kyon did a thing and Yuri was like, yeah, that's great, and I'm like, I don't. This
Well, I
isn't like
mean, like
thought
this
provoking or
is just
anything.
like the level we're at now. Maybe we got to be the change. We got to be the ones to reform the anime
See,
community.
unfortunately, I don't know if you're quite in at that level. That's why I was
Oh,
avoiding
I'm
it
the limiting
because
factor here. I see how it is.
yeah, no, I
All
mean,
right, don't worry. I trust
I
that
know you
our
have the
time
capacity for
together
better,
will
but
we'll build it up. We'll work on it.
part of
Rome
why
wasn't
I'm
built
not
in a
the
day,
biggest
my
fan of
guy.
the anime community is because I just feel like there's such a big like anti-intellectualist streak throughout like all media analysis. Like the loudest and proudest
In
voices that
anime?
refuse to actually analyze are the ones that like go around. Like
I can go back and forth on that. I think there is a certain level of, hey, listen, I just like big boobs and I want to enjoy big boobs
I
energy
mean,
like going around. But
that's
I would
fine, but also that's not
struggle to
allowed.
say that, like, I would struggle to say that the community is anti-intellectual. You know, I think that's a big ask for sure.
I think it's silly to look at it like like it's a binary thing. Like there's definitely a
Yeah,
streak of
for sure.
intellectualism, and whether or not you buy into it or not is it's not that like a it's not as clear cut as he everyone is definitely anti-intellectual. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah, for sure,
elements
for
of it
sure.
is what you have to
All right,
definitely.
let's start being the intellectuals we want to see in the world then. So
Ugh.
you want to start with well, which one do you want to start with?
So Nobu is somewhat
Izakaya
straightforward.
Nobu,
Yeah,
which is
Izakaya Nobu.
Japanese food from another world for the
Now
Anglo.
this one is like interesting because it's actually like partnered with an actual like restaurant and bar, and
Mm,
that bar will have shorts that you'll get to see a little bit of the actual bar and the actual chef making dishes that are relevant to the episode. Like
yeah, how cool was that? First time you're watching an anime episode, there's 5 minutes left to the episode. Suddenly you're in like some dude's kitchen and he's like talking about chicken and stuff. You're like, oh, okay. This wasn't what I signed up for, but I'll play your game show.
Yeah, and so obviously, the isekai part sort of serves as a way to have a bunch of characters be the fish out of water for the protagonists to show them the joy of all this food, you know.
Hmm.
And obviously, boy, our modern food and is really wild to all these medieval Tolkien fantasy characters who have never like seen anything like
Who
it.
haven't had cold water or glasses.
They just see the pure amount of beer and they're like, "Wow, that's amazing."
Yeah, every
Is this
episode
really for
I think
peasants?
has a shot of someone chugging a glass down and going like, "Oh, oh
And it's always like,
my."
I wonder how this is profitable, but don't worry about it. Don't think too much about
We'll
the
we'll
profit model.
definitely get to money in the second show. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, I
But
think restaurant probably has a.
in terms of like the show, like logistics wise, I think it's like a good concept because it's very like, I don't know if you would say like wholesome, but it's like good vibes, right? It's like, hey, here's just people having a good time. The way they
Yeah, I think
structure these episodes is that like usually there's some like someone doubting the izakaya. Is
yeah,
Nobu's the
no,
bar,
you can just
right?
call it Nobu. I'm sure that's probably fine.
So Nobu is the bar, and usually at least within the first three episodes. So spoil. I've only watched the first three episodes. I watched a little bit of the fourth, and that's about it.
Yeah, I guess we have to get down our bona fides.
Yeah. So the
I've
way
seen.
so far it's been structured is that every single episode has someone challenging the restaurant, right? Being like, "Hey, can you make me a dish that's vegetarian and has no da 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 da?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, no problem." They bring you a dish and
Mhm.
you're like, "Oh, this is so good. I can't believe it. How does this exist? What is happening?" Right? And
Yeah,
there's a sort of I don't know what you would call it, like a reality TV sort of thing going on where there's like, a bunch of like really loud reactions to the thing,
yeah,
right?
that's when your conflict can only be like, oh, I'm upset, and then you need to resolve the conflict by food existing. Like there's not too much excitement inherently in that, but I mean,
Mm.
I think you could get by with just people enjoying food. Like there's a Wakako Zake, which is a pretty great food anime, which is literally just a girl going to a random place and eating food. That's like one of my favorites all time. And I think we both enjoyed Sweetness and Lightning, and
Mm.
that's really just making food and then a bunch of family fun stuff.
Would you really say making food is like on the priority of that show though?
Oh yeah, like I mean,
I was often watching that show and I was thinking like, man, the explanations for these foods are half-assed.
I mean it's basic. I'll say that, and I
But
don't think that's
no,
necessarily a bad
to be
thing
clear, Sweetness and Lightning, 10 out of 10. Go watch it immediately. Don't listen to
if you
any
haven't. Yeah,
review or anything. It's so good. It's so good. Um,
yeah.
in regards to this show, so how did you seem to be somewhat negative on it. How did you
No,
feel?
I mean, there are better shows that have done the same thing, but I mean, I think it's really hard to mess up food anime. I mean, food media in general. Like, you really have to work hard to not satisfy anyone with that. I mean, it just turns out food is universal. Everyone has to eat, and everyone knows the joy of eating. So
Food
you're
is
starting from a pretty
universal.
easy
Everyone
point.
has to eat. Here's your clear ticket to make your show good, guys.
Yeah, I mean, what
I
like
would
are
say what makes the show enjoyable. Although I'll admit that I obviously didn't engage with it that deeply because I only watched 3 episodes. But from what I saw, I think what I enjoyed about the show was just like the vibe. They were clearly going for more of a comedic, like funny thing, right?
hmm
The challengers, as it were never like too serious.
hmm
They try to hit you with like a little bit of heartwarming stuff, but in the end, if you were to say this show is like I don't know, like a
it's a wholesome little bit. It's like you know that all these medieval kids are gonna be surprised and enjoy all this modern food, and you get to be all smug like, yeah, food is really good right now, and yeah, that's it's not a bad premise, and I think
if
that's
I
kind
had
of
to
both of
like
these.
put it in words, I would say it's kind of like a Capri Sun. It's not like as basic as like water, but it's not bringing a whole lot extra to the table, right? It's just kind of doing what's fun, and I'd say it's a
Yeah,
fun
definitely.
show. I did enjoy it. We've
I
gone through
think
this show very quickly. I was thinking we'd be here an
I
hour
think
or so.
I also liked Restaurant to Another World a bit more initially. I think
Mm.
Nobu ties it all together a bit more where Restaurant to Another World it's much more episodic where it gets stuck on it gets stuck in the same formula where Nobu starts to develop actually
Does it?
yeah
Oh, maybe I'll have to check out more of Nobu then.
there's definitely a little bit more conflict, and I think a funny thing is that in both of these there's like a deity that looks over the restaurant, and I don't
Mhm.
think the deity is actually ever all that important. So it's kind of like what's the point here?
Yeah, I didn't even know there was one in
But
Nobu.
there's the dragon for Isekai Shokudo, and then
Yeah.
there's like a fox spirit for Nobu, and I don't think the fox spirit actually ends up being that important.
I think there is a certain aesthetic that Isekai Shokudo, Restaurant to Another World, was going for. And I think the dragon reinforces that aesthetic a
Oh
lot.
yeah, the two dragons.
No, no, no. I mean more from like a fantasy. So like in stories, right? You have like a lot of stories that are focused on the protagonist developing and training and stuff. This is
hmm
both of these are shows without real protagonists, and that's because they're trying to
Oh,
be more fun slice of life stuff, right?
you have a sympathetic character and rarely an antag, not really protagonist per se.
Mm.
Yeah,
What I like about Restaurant to Another World, Isekai Shokudo,
yeah,
is that it never felt to me like we were following the restaurant so much as we were following other characters.
yeah. It
There's
was
a
definitely
story
more
archetype that I like to call like living legends. It's more of a writing style that I see in a lot of like media. If you know
hmm
like Maniac McGee, like books like
That's specific, very specific reference.
very specific. I'm trying to think of another example because I've definitely seen this. I think One Piece has an element of this, but not really. But
Yeah, because I almost think it's kind of like goofy that so many of the characters in Isekai Shogudo end up being like legends and like characters of import. It's like and they all happen to come across this one
Yeah, but
restaurant.
mostly in Isekai, right? You're following the character. I think what's really
It's
cool
it
about this is that you're seeing how this restaurant changes other people, how it affects other people, how people like change as they encounter it. And when they talk about it, there's always this like level of respect, right? Like, oh, you're talking about, oh, you saw the door. So I'm sorry, we need to backtrack a little bit. So
yeah, we haven't gone over Shokudo.
Shokudo is essentially what is it called? Cafe Neko something?
Yeah, it is. It has a cat symbol, and I think was it Nekomata? I can't remember.
Neko ya. Neko ya. It ends with a
Oh
Y.
yeah, okay.
So restaurant Nikoya, they call themselves, so they have a door, and every Sunday this door magically transports into different places in this. fantasy world where
I,
it's isekai
I
world,
think
right?
it's multiple doors. Like
Yeah,
there's
so there's
many
multiple
random
doors.
doors and they're consistent.
Yeah, and so you can like enter through one door and like stay there for a couple hours, and when you leave, you'll leave through your door, the door you entered through, right? But despite that, other people also have doors, and they're all entering through different doors. And they haven't really like tested it, right? It's not like
I think
there's like a lot of focus on this, but it seems like if you were to like try and exit with another person, you would just end up in your location and not theirs.
I think one thing that the Doors thing does that that Izakaya Nobu isn't able to do because of that. Nobu is like a specific place in the fantasy world,
Yeah, it's
whereas
like a they have a
Shokudo
storefront.
essentially doesn't exist in the fantasy world. It's you can enter, but then it's not part of the fantasy world at all. Like it doesn't take up a physical space.
Hmm.
So that's a a difference. And that's why Nobu later on can have like more complex plots where like the big character thing in Shokudo, like the culminating conflict is just that everyone tries everyone else's favorite dishes, and that's as much
It's
as
not so much conflict as it is like, oh, this is a
it's
neat
just
like omen.
they just all get mad at each other for having favorite dishes, and then they try each other's dishes, and then
No,
they're
but
happy.
that
That's
episode was really satisfying for me
no,
because it
it's a good
took
episode,
all of
but it's
these
just
like so throughout the
in
show.
contrast, Nobu has to like actually deal with like government laws and like it being a pub that has to like live in the space it feels a little more grounded.
Hmm. So what you were talking about with Shokuno that episode? That episode was probably my favorite after the second one, which was the shrimp guy. Uh,
Yeah,
the
Ebby Fry.
way Ebby Fry, the way he says it was so good.
He's the spy, isn't he? Yeah,
No, he's what?
he's a spy who's like, I'll ask for ridiculous dishes. I mean, I think there were
No, no,
similar
no. That's might be a manga thing because I
there were
don't
similar
remember anything like
plots
that.
in both of them where someone comes along who is antagonistic to the restaurant and
Hmm.
then they order something and are so surprised by it, and I think I think both of them I think sort of go like, how can you have this fresh food, because it's
Hmm.
I think Nobu not being on the coast and then Shokudo like just having food
Magic
that's not
doors.
available, yeah,
Yeah.
and being able to cook it so
So
well.
so Shokudo does this thing where every single episode introduces a new character, right? And
Hmm.
as you mentioned before, it's all episodic, right? And there's a very
Hmm.
clear like formula it follows where they give a lot of focus to these minor characters. And this is mostly why I like the show so much, is because it feels like the restaurant is this legendary thing. Like it's a secret that, the treasure hunter's grandfather had hidden in his journals, right?
Oh
For
yeah,
the tribe, they all like gather around and they do like a ritual for it, right?
yeah, there's a whole plot beat about how like treasure hunter guy really liked the sandwich that his protege would go on to enjoy, and then like I think
Yeah.
that's sort of
And
there's a thing.
what
Yeah.
really, what really made that episode for me was in episode one they show him, but they don't name him, and then at
Hmm.
the very end of the episode they're like, "Oh yes, Williamson. Oh, that's his daughter, huh? Wow, that's amazing." And then they flash back, and I was like, "Oh, it's the guy. It's the I know that guy." It's a very basic reaction, I know, but I really
I,
like that little like tie-in to the previous episode. This was episode 2, by the way. I'm talking about minced meat cutlet.
yeah, and then they go on to say that like everyone, like a lot of people who go to the restaurant will bring in like a descendant or an apprentice to go on to be the so every character in this restaurant is like nicknamed after their favorite food, and
Yeah.
so
So like they
treasure
call
hunter,
this girl minced meat.
yeah,
The dude
minced meat
later in the
cutlet.
episode who says Abby Fry.
Yeah.
Oh, Abby Fry. They call him Abby Fry because I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah, it's cozy when they have like like descendants and stuff who take on the mantle of Katsudon or whichever.
So
And
as they go through the show, they introduce more and more of these characters, and everyone has like different reasons for like being here and like or keeping the restaurant secret. Like there's this one like old dude who's like showing his nephew like, hey, this is where I learned how to make pasta, and I wanted to make pasta on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Around, I want to say it's like 6, like halfway through the show, they start showing like all of the characters together. And I love me when a show starts to like build on its cast and like has people meet each other, right?
Yeah,
And
that's definitely a fun aspect.
you get these like moments where like different characters are interacting with each other. Minced meat cutlet girl and Ebby Fry dude are like constantly arguing, which is just like a lot of fun. There's like a chicken curry like lion and like
Yeah.
when he eats
Katsudon
the
guy.
yeah, the katsudon, and he's like, no, at first he was into what's the beef one?
Shoot, I don't remember.
So he at first he's into like the pork cutlet, right? And then
Hmm.
they give him like a chicken one, and he's like, "Ah, let me do a chick." No, wait, it wasn't the lion dude. Wait, no, that was the island guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah, because whichever one, I think Lion Dude went to the Coliseum, right?
Yeah, lion dude went to the Coliseum. He just
And
like
then
had the pork cutlet.
yeah, he
He,
had the Katsudon because katsu, win. There's that whole pun,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he was given that by the restaurant owner, the past
Oh
one.
man, wait, who gave the? Okay, anyways, this is all to say that I think what the show did really well was having them all appear at once and really making you feel like, oh, I know all these characters and they're interacting. It's just kind of this like it's almost like when your two favorite YouTubers do a collab together.
Yeah.
You're like, oh wow, like this guy I know from this other thing is in here now, right? And
Hmm.
it's not like they always have like the best of synergy or they're bringing their A game to their work, right? But
Yeah.
you can appreciate the mix of universes, as it were.
Yeah, you could. It's not a bad thing. It usually, uh,
I will
I
say
think
for sure, it's not like the most exciting episode. It's not the most exciting material. It's just a fun way to pay off people who watched the show and got invested in like Ebby Fry, right?
that's kind of why I think like it's if a show goes on long enough, it's kind of hard to dislike, like because it's always gonna build on itself, and there's an attraction to that. So it's
Mm.
sort of like when something continues to get seasons, even if I don't like it, I'm kind of like, well, people are inevitably going to like this because it's getting the more content you get, the more you can build up on yourself.
You want to know? So you mentioned One Piece earlier. There's one funny thing that I think you'll enjoy quite a bit
Oh man, I
on
have
that
not
concept.
listened to it. I have not
So
read One Piece in so many
early
years.
on in One Piece, they mention Fishman Island, right?
Yeah,
Later on, they go to Fishman Island, and while they're there, there's like I forget exactly what it is, but there's like a princess who gets shot, and she has like a really like a callback that goes 700 chapters back in the story. I wish I remember what it was, but One Piece has like a big moment, and I remember it being like a big thing in like on Twitter when it came out. It's
it
like
sure has endured.
look at this moment that Oda has, I mean, clearly planned 700 years. That's a joke, by
I
the way. But
I
like,
don't know if
like he had this line and he paid it forward years and years in advance, right? That's like what a way to reward people who have been following your story for
stuck
almost a
with it. Yeah.
decade. I think that stuff is really cool.
If anything has endured all these years, it's One Piece. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
It
think
is still the highest rated out of all of what was that?
Shonen.
Shonen Jump? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jump.
It is the highest rated show on Shonen Jump for like years and years and years. Where Bleach fell and Naruto fell in the ratings, One Piece has never wavered.
Man, and now we got the what Chainsaw Man coming. Oh, I guess that one's already ended actually.
Oh,
So
is it?
yeah, the manga. Well, it's done with part one. So I guess that's not going to be our next Eternal Shonen. I guess Hero Academia is in the next, forever Shonen that
Hero
goes.
Aka is very good, and they're clearly going for the long game for that
It
show.
was very good at one point.
So I feel like I've talked about everything I wanted to with Isekai Shokudo.
I
Is there
think
anything more
if
you want
anyone
to touch on?
listening, if anyone listening really enjoyed either of these, the one anime I would recommend, not anime, the one manga I would recommend, and it's finished, is uh, what was it? Well, there's a bunch of
I'm glad you
isekai
added the
looking.
finished part because, dude, let me tell you, nothing worse than like getting in on a show when it's like episode 2.
Yeah, so my recommendation for anyone who likes these is Isekai Omotenashi Gohan, which is basically like if you, I'm sure everyone knows like the derivatives of Isekai that are like villainesses or saintesses. It's sort of pre-saintess food Isekai, and it's a really good one. Omotenashi Gohan, which is just like a pair of sisters gets summoned to another world, and the sister is
I'll
the
be real with
saintess.
you. All of that was gibberish to me. What? What
No,
the fuck are you talking about?
it becomes so derivative as to lose meaning. So it's definitely not easy to understand.
I mean,
But
that's
Saint is
fantastic, but like I said earlier, I don't watch a ton of anime, so I have no idea
so
what's
it's not an
derivative of
anime. It's
what.
only a manga right now.
Well, okay, well, manga and anime are like connected enough that I.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. You're right. So I'm just saying this one manga. It's so good. It's over. It got canceled pretty early on, but it's just such a good entry into the genre. And uh, and then also don't watch any other
How do
isekai
you feel
unless
about
you
these
have no
two
taste.
shows?
What was that?
On like say you gave it a rating out of 10, right? How do you feel about these two shows?
Okay.
In fact, I'm sure you have given a rating, right? Or you have a My Anime list?
Oh no, I stopped updating that like years ago. It's way too much.
All right, so if I type your name into into the search
You'll
bar,
find it, and it's not going to be great. I think my opinions develop over time, and
that's entirely fair. I'll refrain from looking up your anime
I
list.
mean, you can. I think how much do I even have on that?
Probably more than me for sure.
Oh, I mean, that's not. It's not a competition. In fact, I would say you're winning if you have less. Yeah, I have.
I'm winning if I have less. That's not the thing you should be saying on your show about anime.
No, if there's one thing I should say about anime, it's that it's not worth it, and I never should have gone into it.
Oh, come
Uh,
on.
I'm just, I am messing. To an
Give
extent, it's
people a little bit here. Anime is not all that bad.
obviously like
I
all
think
media. You can enjoy anything, but
as someone who was very like negative about anime during like high school and college, I think like it gets a bad rap a lot of times for like I think poor reasons.
it
It's
is
like
a pulp media where a lot of it is cheaply made and cheaply distributed, and it's usually not very creatively like deep. There are a
no, but
few
like
that are
I think
so
that
worth it.
I would
Like,
disagree there. I think it is very creative. I think if you're, someone like me who only like uses Crunchyroll and sticks to the mainstream stuff, I think you can definitely see where things connect a little too well.
I
But
mean,
I would say that there is a lot of creativity in the genre and in the
I'm saying you.
media.
It's not that it can't have creativity necessarily. It just doesn't most of the time. Uh, and
Gotta
there
make
are the
that
ones
money
that
in the
actually do like I do think as a medium it has potential to go like much further than almost anything other than video games, but it doesn't use that potential so well. I mean, we
Mm.
had Wonder Egg Priority this last season, and oh boy,
Ooh, that's a show we can talk about.
yeah, one day if
Okay,
my
getting
blood's
back
on.
to these 2 shows, did you have, like, a rating for them?
Oh yeah, I would
I
probably
didn't
give
pull up
like
your list,
Nobu.
so if you want, I can.
I'd probably give Nobu a 7 and then Shokudo a 6. Like they're
Oh,
both worth watching, but they're not like
heresy.
must by any means.
How dare I gave, Shokudo a 10
That's nice.
on my, anime list, and I'll tell you why. It sucked me in so hard to, like, have this, I mean, I mentioned before, like, the legendary aspect of this restaurant, I really enjoyed that. There wasn't really a character that I disliked of the group, right? There,
Hmm.
I think it did a really good job like progressing as the show. I'm not gonna say it's like innovative because I can't pretend to know what came before and what came after. But I know that like what I watched was really good and I really enjoyed it. You know?
Yeah, no, that's totally valid. I mean, I don't. It's not. I'm not giving it a 6 because I think it's bad. I'm just giving it a 6 because I don't think it's not necessary to watch it by any means.
Hmm.
You,
Now, Izakaya Nobu, I don't have on my list, and I'm
yeah, that's
thinking
fine. I'm
about
sure
it now. I think I would honestly rate it, like, lower than you did,
it's
which is
like
kinda
6. Yeah, that
funny.
makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised.
What
I
is
mean,
my
I don't. I do think
master?
it's a bit funny to rate one much higher than the other. They're not that different.
So you said this at the beginning. They're both like very similar shows, and I've
I
seen
think that
that
might have been
comment
pre-show. Yeah.
online. I've seen that comment in like the comments, like because you know how Crunchyroll has comment sections and like
I mean, I think you can. There are differences in their methodology, and I think if you can easily find distinctions if you wanted to, but I also don't
hmm,
think the overall appeal is really that different.
see
Like,
that's where I disagree. I think like for the if we're talking between Nobu and Shokudo, the former I would say is more focused on being a funny, like lighthearted thing, and then it had a whole like thing on cooking at the end of every episode, right?
mhm.
And I'll be real with you, those cooking sections I found kind of boring, you know?
Oh yeah, I didn't really watch
Maybe
all of them.
I'm maybe I'm just,
They're
like,
not that
not in
interesting.
on the Japanese culture, but I
If
didn't
anything,
enjoy that part at all, and so,
it makes the show feel like an advertisement. So I'm like, I don't. This makes me want to watch the show less.
I mean, hey, good good place to put your money, I'm not gonna complain about it. Advertising money
I mean,
going
I
to
don't like hate it or anything. I'm just like, I don't. I'm not here for this.
yeah, for sure. So, like, I would say that I think the appeal in that show is more just, like, foodie stuff and, like, funny reactions.
Sure.
Whereas in Shokudo, they do have the funny reaction where they go, "What? How is this possible?" But they don't linger on it. The focus is less so about this one dish and more so about how it like affects this person. I think the lion is the best example where like he's really like depressed because he's being forced to fight in this coliseum,
Yeah,
and if if he can't win,
as we
he's
do.
stuck forever, right? He finds the door, he goes into the restaurant, and he comes out seemingly like a changed man. And it feels like every single character who goes through this restaurant really goes through this sort of change where they like not necessarily improve, but they have a renewed vigor about them, right? And I think like as a show, Ikidai Shokudo was I don't know how you would describe it. I guess smarter about its setup. It focused more on people and characters, and it made this restaurant more of a living legend feeling than the other one did.
Yeah,
And
sure. If it engaged
yeah,
you, I'm not.
well, I'm not trying to diss you respectively,
Oh
right? But
yeah, that's fine.
I'm also trying to like think about why did I enjoy this? So
I'm not exactly standing Nobu
I
either. I
think
just think
I think if you like came at me like the day when I finished binging it, right? I
yeah.
probably would have had more to say. But I'm thinking about it now, and it's hard for me to put into words what you like about a thing, right? And this is the nature of like analysis, is that you're trying to put it into words, and it's hard
Yeah,
sometimes for sure.
it's it's always I think harder to describe something that you enjoy, whereas if you dislike something, you don't even really have to go into that much. You can just be like,
It's
I
really easy.
viscerally
You're like, "Oh,
dislike
this
these
guy sucked,
elements.
this guy sucked, this girl sucked. Oh, I should talk about this. I'll
It's
talk about
actually
it in
kind
a
of
second. I'll talk about it in a second." Um, but so Isekai Shokudo, I think the appeal is very different. It's more narrative and storytelling-y. You feel a little bit like you're reading like a book or something. I think it does appeal more to I don't know, just people who like good
cerebral
stories,
readers.
good short stories that last exactly 10 minutes because that's half an episode.
Yeah, that is the episodic does benefit from having the half at length, where Nobu has to try and fill that whole time, and it doesn't quite succeed. I wouldn't say.
Yeah. Okay. The thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
So Isekai Shokudo, the main chef dude, they call him Tensho, which is like it's weird because technically it translates the master, but it's
Yeah, it's a
supposed to be like
it, no,
right?
it's sort of the more traditional use of master, where it's like owner of the store, like rather than
Yeah. So
Goshujin Shama, which is everyone's gross
yeah.
fetish.
So that dude is the same voice actor as
The chef and Nobu.
no. Wait, really?
I mean, no, I was just guessing. I don't know.
Aizawa from My Hero Acca.
What are the odds?
It, dude, I was like, I've heard this voice before. Wait a minute.
I mean, listen, these I don't care too much about voice actors,
I
especially
don't
for
either. This one
these
just like caught me
characters.
off guard. I enjoy it as like a bit of background trivia, right?
Yeah, no, that's
And
cool.
like I think the girl in Nobu is someone famous too. Hold on.
I think what was
Mori
it?
Suzuko. Yeah, she's Umi from Love Live. She's the one who got married to a wrestler.
I
If
mean,
you
wow, this
remember
guy has a
that.
lot of voices on his role. I mean,
Yeah, they're
geez, I'm
both
looking
like
for
really established voice actors
just
for
super
sure.
prolific. A lot
you
of
you just scroll and scroll and scroll.
yeah, it's not stopping. I'm still scrolling.
He's played Greed in Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, he's done
Zetsu no Tempest. Wow, that's a particular show.
he's done a lot of like stuff I've never heard of. So maybe you can comment on how good he is or not.
Yeah, Vampire Knight.
I enjoyed him here. I enjoyed him as Aizawa, who is not my favorite character, but like he does a good job.
yeah, these owners.
Junichi Suwabe is the actor's name. The guy,
Junichi Suwabe, yeah.
yeah, and Suzuku Omimori is the girl from Nobu. Just like your little anime trivia for when you're out with your anime friends talking about anime.
Yeah, well, you know, definitely if you enjoyed either of these shows, watch Izakaya Otomonashi, Omotenashi. Oops. Uh, His Boy is that just a good show. I mean, a
Mm,
good manga. So I went over to my like anime list and I'm like, how many shows have I got on here? So for the like for reference, I have 500 shows on my anime list. And I
holy
have
shit!
like 700 manga on my manga reader.
I'll tell you right now, I got 62.
Yeah, that's a disparity there.
A slight disparity.
I've only been talking about anime every day of my life for like 5 years. You know,
You know what? Here's your opportunity, my guy. Uh,
yeah. I mean, we've tried to do this before. It didn't pan
we
out, but
did, dude. That's a good story. We should talk about that
man,
to close out the episode. Do you want to talk about it,
sometime
or?
I don't remember too much except we were talking in the car, and I was like,
Yeah,
let's
so
record it and see what happens.
when we were driving from university to our parents' house, it's an hour, 20 minutes drive. And so oftentimes we would like listen to podcasts and things, and usually it would be your podcast, right?
Yeah, and we would pause so that
And
you could talk about
as
how dumb
is
my
the
friends
nature
were.
of an older sibling, I like to talk shit about your podcasts because I
Oh, that's
don't
fine.
especially enjoy them. But
I
so
don't
we
expect you to enjoy everything I play. Yeah.
so I'm listening to your podcast. Eventually, it always ends up that we start arguing about some anime, and it's like we talk about this so much, we may as well just record it, right?
Yeah,
Because
why not?
so we
Anime
tried
Fight League.
recording it using like a phone app, and God, like we did it twice, and both times were real shit. It was
Yep.
like oh, the first one it was like really noisy, and like your audio was way lower than mine because
No,
we
well,
had
yeah,
the
that's because I
phone
like to
pointed
sit
my
back in the
direction.
car. I like
Yeah,
to
like
lean back
you
super
were
far and
sitting back
not
and
talk
like
into a
the phone
mic.
was pointed in my direction.
Yeah,
And so
nope.
the second time we tried to do it, like we didn't really change anything, so we had the exact same problems.
Yep.
Now
Anyway,
we're doing it over Discord, so hey, a little stability there.
well, you know, if anyone wants to talk anime to me, I'm
Yeah,
SAACOOI on Twitter. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I like that. We'll do a little plug. I'm at what am I?
I don't know your Twitter. I don't want to look at that.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't tweet ever. But like, hey, if you're ever interested, I'm at Nujum Key, Nujumkey.
And I'm at Saacool, but the L is an I because the actual SAACOOL is taken. So
Really? Who
yeah,
took
it's a
that? Was it you? Did you take your
no.
own?
It's I mean it might have been. I was like, but I wasn't on Twitter on like 2008, was I? So and I'm just like reporting this account, trying to get it taken down so I can finally take that name. And every like year, I'm like, why is it still up? It hasn't
All
said
right,
anything.
that's our episode 1.
Yeah,
We'll do this again real soon. This is
and we'll probably have a name eventually.
yeah, we'll find a name. We'll try and get better at it over time.
Yeah,
But this is the start of something legendary, I feel.
I mean probably not. I have school. I'm busy a lot.
All right.
Bye.